Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sam. I'm the Community Engagement Librarian here at the Barrington Area Library. And we are doing a hybrid program a little differently tonight. So Kate will begin her presentation in a few minutes. You're looking at the title slide of her deck right now. We are asking the Zoom audience to stay muted. If questions occur to you while Kate is doing her presentation, go ahead and put those in chat, and I will answer them, or I will address them to Kate as we are able. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to Kate.
Thank you so very much, Sam. Thank you to everyone that's here in person. Thank you very much for our representative from Commissioner Morrison's office and for Jennifer from Go Green. We are Go Green Barrington, right? We're very excited to have all of you partnering with us and to talk about the basics and benefits of electric vehicles. My name is Kate Carney. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for Cook County's Department of Environment and Sustainability. It is a mouthful, but we also try to do tons of great things for our county. So in our department, we have a mission to foster healthy, resilient, and thriving communities. We want to do this by improving the quality of life, protecting our natural environment, and promoting sustainability and environmental justice for all of us. Every stakeholder in Cook County and those of us that straddle the borders all deserve to have healthy environments that keep us healthy and also promote the longevity of our environment. We do it through lots of means, but today we're going to focus on electric vehicles. We'll talk about what electric vehicles are, why we want to go electric, examples of electric vehicles so we can see the variety that can really suit most people. We're going to do a little myth busting, talk about charging, highlight some incentives and some programs that can help us to make electric vehicles more affordable. And then I'd love to have any questions that any of you might have. So we'll start with what is an electric vehicle. So for purposes of our discussion, we are thinking purely of a vehicle that you have to plug it in to make it go. So we want to plug it in from electricity to charge the battery so we can make our car go. Well, also, these also loosely apply to plug-in hybrid. So there's a plug-in component for a battery and then a gasoline backup for a plug-in hybrid. So when we're talking about these benefits and the incentives, a lot of these apply mostly to a strictly plug-in electric vehicle, okay? So the key features of these plug-in electric vehicles are that the electric motors are usually smaller, so you have a little bit more space inside of your car. They're also a lot quieter, and that's both inside and outside of the car, so those are nice bonuses. EVs also often have regenerative braking, so that takes some of that wasted energy from gas combustion that would just be wasted with gas combustion and turns it back into recharging the battery to help keep you going longer. Also, there's instant torque and there's no gears, so you don't have any grinding gears when you're trying to go. Instant torque is also kind of amazing, right? We have some EV drivers in the room and it just goes immediately, which is pretty cool. So as you can see, there's some differences to how our vehicles are set up. This is a very generalized version of the components of an electric vehicle versus a gasoline vehicle. As you can see, a lot of what is going to help make your car go is in those battery packs, which are in the bottom of the car. And so that kind of also helps with a lower center of gravity, which we'll talk about in a moment. So basically, the insides of the car are pretty different, but the outsides can be the same. So why? Why would we want to go EV? There's lots of benefits. A primary benefit is reduced air pollution. So no tailpipes equals no tailpipe emissions, right? We're not contributing to air pollution. We're also going to help reduce smog and greenhouse gases through having fewer gasoline or tailpipe emissions. We also can go one step further, and if we are charging our vehicles, from renewable energy sources, like my friend with the solar panels here. Then we're even going one step further, that the generation of the electricity that charges our vehicle and helps it go has zero emissions as well. We also save a lot of energy. So an electric motor, in translating the power into making the car go, wastes only about 15% or 15 to 20% of the energy that it's using gets wasted, versus 64 to 75% of the electricity from internal gas combustion. So when the gasoline is converted into electricity, so much of that is getting wasted and just going in the air, and we're not utilizing that very well. Also, we can never stop talking about the fact that fewer tailpipe emissions leads to better air quality, which leads to better health for all of us. The reduction of smog and greenhouse gases and other emissions can help to reduce asthma, heart, lung diseases, and also diabetes in all of us. So if that's something that you're already suffering from or battling, it's better to not have to make it worse, right? We also want to point out that tailpipe emissions have a lot of greenhouse gases in them, and then other particulates and other pollutants like carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, formaldehyde, tiny little particles that can get stuck in our lungs and cause us a lot of health issues. All these things are reduced with having no tailpipe emissions. There's also a long-term lower cost of ownership. So an electric vehicle takes a lot less maintenance to keep it going. You can see here is an example that I got from Chevrolet of an electric vehicle's maintenance needs over the course of 150,000 miles. As you can see, there are just 3 things that need to be done. You still want to keep your tires in good repair, right? So you need to continue to rotate those, but there's no more oil changes with an electric vehicle. There's no more other fluids that need to be changed out on a regular basis, like your transmission fluids. Also, there's a lot of incentives that we're going to cover both at the state and at the federal level. So that can also help to bring that cost down. And the equivalent cost per mile of driving an EV versus a gas-powered vehicle is a lot lower, because with strategic charging, the cost of charging that battery up for the same number of miles is way lower, or nothing if you have solar panels and you're doing it right. So over the long run, it's going to be a lot less expensive. Also, I like to point out the differences between the 2 vehicles. So we saw the photo, but here's some kind of one-for-one differences. So with your electric vehicle, you have battery packs as opposed to a gasoline tank in a gasoline vehicle. We've got the charger port as opposed to the internal combustion engine. I got those 2 switched. We've got the electric motor versus the internal combustion engine. We've got a controller versus the transmission. Got the DC converter versus the carburetor or alternator. We've got regenerative braking. So we're helping to charge that battery a little bit, just a little trickle when we're just coming to a stop in everyday driving. And then we've got the traditional braking system for the gas-powered vehicles. But then there's even more in our gas-powered vehicles. We still have the intake system and exhaust system. So there's more components that could potentially go wrong in a gas-powered vehicle versus your EV. Also, another benefit is safety. So that lower center of gravity actually can make for better handling. The instant torque and the regenerative braking really help with slipping and sliding in icy conditions. So the instant torque can help to reduce some of that tire spin that sometimes we get when we're coming off of a stop at a stoplight, and can also help when the car is automatically slowing itself down with that regenerative braking, can help some with normal driving on icy roads. Also, there's a variety of charging options. So you can charge at home, you can charge at work or at another public charging station. Public charging in a lot of places is actually free. So like at Whole Foods, they usually have a couple of chargers there you can plug in while you're doing your shopping. That's usually a level 1 charger, so it's a trickle, but it's still free charging that can help to top off your battery. There's a lot of websites and apps that can help you find those charging stations, especially if you're going for longer distances than you normally do in your everyday charging. And we're also at Cook County, we are, oh, it's coming up later. We're also working on a program with ARPA funds that's going to help to increase charging stations, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's look at some examples. So I tried to put these in going from kind of like our smallest vehicles to the larger vehicles. So if you're not looking for a large vehicle, there's some really, really affordable options. Nissan Leaf has been around for a long time. There's a lot of used ones available. So if you do just minimal everyday driving, you can pick up one of these vehicles for $10,000 to $15,000, which is super affordable. The range is not going to be as far as some of the other vehicles or even as a new Leaf, but it's a really great option if you're just doing normal everyday, going to the grocery store type of driving is your primary use for your vehicle. The Chevy Bolt is another great option. It is a little bit, has better range, but it's a little bit more expensive. But there are some great options out there for used Bolts as well. So having those options is really nice. It's like a starter vehicle if you're still trying to kind of dip your toe into it. The Chevy Bolt also, it is a plug-in hybrid. You can get those used for under 20K usually. Then there's like work trucks. Rivian is a brand of trucks that I've been starting to see around quite a bit. I was walking from the train in downtown Chicago to our offices, and a truck went by me, and I was like, that's weird, I didn't hear anything, and then I realized it was a Rivian. So they really are silent. It's pretty spectacular. And Ford has just come out with the F-150 Lightning all electric. So those are harder to get your hands on, but they are going to be more available in the next couple of years. That one has a great range, about 320 miles, but it does start around 40,000. So we are looking at pretty significant investments. Then there's the like crossover, smaller SUVs. Both Kia and Hyundai have lots of different electric vehicles available. This is just two particular models that are most popular. They have good range to over 200 to 300 miles per charge, but they can also both be found as plug-in hybrids and traditional hybrids. So there's a lot of great options with those. I actually just saw one of these Kias on the road earlier today, and it was pretty slick looking. I wanted to stop them, wave them down, and ask them what their range was, but I didn't think that would be very appropriate. And then we have our Teslas, which I know most people think of the Tesla when they think of an electric vehicle. That is also part of showing examples, of showing that there's a lot of different options available. So there's the more affordable Tesla, the Model 3, all the way up to the Model X, which starts at over 100,000. So there's a lot of options in between on Tesla as well. Additionally, the major car companies are investing billions over the next several years into R&D of electric vehicles, so they can expand their offerings of electric vehicles and they can build more of them. So let's get on to myth busting. So a lot of people, when they think EV, they think, I can't go very far in my EV because the battery only has X range. And typically, a US driver only drives about 39 miles a day. So even the lowest range on a Leaf is going to be perfectly suited to an average driver in the United States, which is pretty cool. Battery range does continue to increase as more models come out. What is the range on your vehicle, sir? Oh, yes, on yours.
The EPA suggestion is 312. My experience is higher.
Okay, so manufacturer recommendation is that it's 312, but often you're experiencing higher than that. That's awesome. How about yours, Sam?
Yeah, pretty close. We did our first long trip, Chicago to Cleveland last summer, and easy peasy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you also experiencing that, sir?
Actually, well, I don't, it's rated at 310, real world 250, but I drive it like I sold
Okay, so we have a speed demon here. He is getting slightly lower mileage than what is suggested. Yeah, but you're out there every day like you're on a racetrack, huh?
I think
Excellent.
weather has an effect as well. cold, which is true of gasoline cars as well.
We're going to talk about that too. It's another myth. All right. Also, charging networks are expanding. So even to take those longer trips, you would have to stop for gas in your gas vehicle, but there's a better network that is on the horizon and is being connected now. So you can make those longer trips. Additionally, the state of Illinois is getting federal funding to help to connect that network. So beef up our network, because if we do get to that 1 million EVs on the road by 2030, as our governor wants, we don't have enough charging available for that yet. So we need to beef that up while that number of EVs are increasing. And then the federal government wants to make sure that it's connected. So it's not just like you have to try to get into Illinois to be able to do that. They want you to be able to go clear across the country and stay connected to charging the entire way. And then we are doing the Pitt County government is doing an ARPA initiative with the American Rescue Plan Act to intentionally expand access to public charging across suburban county, particularly in places that don't have many options right now, where we can help fill in a few of those gaps. So also weather. So weather can absolutely affect your range, just like it affects your gas mileage. So the reduction in your battery life or the battery range is similar to the reduction in the fuel efficiency of your gasoline powered vehicle. When you have your seat warmers on and your heater running or your air conditioner running. So all those things obviously need power. They need juice, just like they need the gas. So that is to be expected. And then the instant torque, the regenerative braking can help you. So it's not the cure-all. You can't just, disregard all the rules, but it's something that can be an aid, can be a tool. EV batteries, the myth is that they have safety and reliability issues. That was sort of true in the early versions of these batteries, but they are being designed to have a really long lifespan in your vehicle. They're also built to be safer. No car company wants their cars exploding, whether it's an EV or a gas vehicle, right? But they are being designed to have long lifespans. And then there are also a lot of companies are trying to use those batteries that don't have enough range for an electric vehicle. They're being taken out and replaced, turning those into electricity storage. So when we do solar or other non-renewable or another renewable energy projects, if the sun's not shining, it's not generating electricity unless you have a battery to store it in. So there's that. And then also gas-powered vehicles are actually up to about 100 times more prone to have a fire than an EV is, because you have gasoline that is going through a combustion process in your car. So it's more likely to have a fire. And we know that those are still pretty rare. So it's even less common in an EV for a battery to have that issue. All right, let's talk charging. So there's 3 primary types of EV chargers. So there's level 1, which is basically just plugging your charger into a regular outlet in your garage or on the side of your house. They call this kind of a trickle because it takes a long time. You get about 3 to 5 miles of your range per hour. So this is great for overnight charging. If you just ran to the store, did a couple errands, you don't have a lot of charging you need to do. You can plug this in, it does the job for most people. This works really well for your single family home. It can also work in other situations where you have garages, especially like condos that have garages. This is an option. Then there's level 2. This is what you find very commonly in public charging. You get about 10 to 20 miles of your range per charge or per hour. And this works better in bigger settings. So does the library have chargers? Not yet. That would likely be the type of charger that the library would install here. That's the type of charger that you would see in a parking garage, in, like most downtowns of communities, those types of things. This is also something that you can have installed into your home. You just have to upgrade your electric panel to get the 220 volts. So this is something you can have in your home. This isn't something you automatically have in your home. So it is basically the equivalent of having like an electric dryer plugged in. It's that kind of a plug. And then there's the fast chargers. You can see these like At the shopping mall by my house, they have a whole row of about a half a dozen of them. These are the fast chargers and the Tesla fast chargers that can charge up to 80% of your range in a half an hour or less. They're amazing. Typically, you're not going to see these in a home, but I guess technically you could install this in your home. So a little bit of evidence to show the difference in cost per mile. So this is from the Consumer Reports. They estimated the fuel costs for going 15,000 miles in an electric car versus in a gas car. So for the gas car, those are the ones that are in orange. They're the higher numbers. So for a regular old sedan, just your normal run-of-the-mill vehicle, it would cost, and mind you, this is from 2020, so gas prices were still much lower. So these numbers in today's gas prices or in last year's scary gas prices would be a lot bigger. So this is based on 2020 numbers. Be about $1,400 to pay for gas to go 15,000 miles in a typical gas-powered vehicle, but it's about $800 lower for charging it with electricity. So going those same 15,000 miles in your EV would only cost you around $600. And so that's a trend that you see across the board for multiple different types of vehicles. Also, there's a lot of incentives. This is part of how how electric vehicles are being made more affordable. So in Illinois, there is CEJA rebates. So there is cycles to these. So you have to have purchased your EV within a 90-day window of one of the open cycles when you are applying for this rebate. It's a $4,000 rebate. It's good for new or used vehicles. And it's basically, it's a cash rebate. They send you a check. Right now, we are not in an open period. So as soon as they open it up, it should be either at the end of, or the beginning of next month or the month after. If you have bought your vehicle within 90 days of that window, you can submit your application. You do want to be very conscientious of going through each of the steps in that application because there are a couple of sticking points. You can reach out to the Clean Cities, Chicago Clean Air. They just changed their name. Yeah, the coalition of clean cities. They've got a lot of information on it. Citizens Utility Board may be able to help you, and then getting in touch directly with Illinois EPA, which is who the rebates are coming through, is definitely a good route to go to ensure you get that filled out properly so that you can redeem your rebate. Additionally, the Illinois EPA is doing a program where you could get up to 80% rebate of the cost to install a level 2 or 3 public charging station. So that would be if the library decides to install a charging station here, they could apply to get that rebate. So that's another good one. The link that's listed here is also in the list of resources that each of you here have, and I think we're going to email to everybody else. Then there's also ComEd hourly pricing, which is a great way to basically get them to pay you to charge your car overnight. When the hourly demand is very, very low, the cost goes much, much lower, and it can make it super affordable. So that would be worth checking into something. Also, we have a gentleman here with solar panels, and his solar panels help to charge, and Sam too, they help charge their vehicles. So that's another great way to reduce the cost of essentially fueling your vehicles. So that link is listed on the page on the other side. The link is on the other side of that page. All right. Also, there's some federal tax incentives. So I went to this bottom one, the irs.gov link, which is also on the list. And they have a brand new chart of eligible vehicles for model years 2022 and 2023. So you can see this is just a snapshot of part of it. So on the page, you scroll down to the list, and then you can click on whichever brand you're interested in. And it lists all of the model years, the type of vehicle, and then also what the MSRP limit is. So for example, the Ford E-Transit That's a van, right? You can get an electric e-transit van, but it has to be $80,000 or less MSRP. And it has to be a model year 22 or 23 to be eligible for your tax credit up to $20 or $7,500 based on battery capacity. So there's paperwork that you can find listed on that same IRS site. So that's a handy tool. We also have our charging initiative. So that's expanding. So what you see here is all of the public charging stations that now exist. The orange ones are the high capacity, so the DC chargers, and the blue ones are level 1s or 2s. I think primarily level 2s. These are all the chargers that are in the county right now. So we want to help to expand this network in some of these places, like especially down towards the south, where there's big gaps of no chargers. Because if you don't have an option to charge your vehicle, why would you even consider going electric, right? We are also taking suggestions for potential public places that would make sense to have a public charger. You can go to our website, cookcountyil.gov/EV charging and fill out the web form if you have a suggestion. Some examples are city or village halls, libraries, parks, shopping centers, churches, anywhere public. So here's some links. I have all of the links that I referenced in the presentation on a single sheet. We'll email those of you that are joining us virtually. Everybody here has one. This is my contact info, catherine.carney@cookcountyil.gov. We also have a Twitter that we put some stuff on at Cook and Biro. We also have some other ways that we can do some simple things to conserve energy, reduce waste, and also curb emissions. So if you want to check that out, you can go to our Conserve Cook County Pledge. And also, Commissioner Morrison is a proud co-sponsor of the Illinois Solar for All presentation that we're doing a webinar on Wednesday nights. If you are interested in learning more about the Cook County or about the Solar for All programs, there's income qualification programs or income qualified programs. There's programs for homeowners, for renters with community solar. There's lots of options. So please do join us for that if that's something you're interested in learning more about. All right, so questions?
To address to Kate, I had one that came in through chat, but I'm not certain you will have the answer or not. Does anyone here have a question they want to pose?
Yeah.
Okay. So this question goes back to car accidents and specifically car fires. And just kind of, I think, looking at waste again as, what can we do to reduce waste everywhere, saying that this person had heard that it takes 1,500 gallons of water to put out a car fire. I don't know if that's something you would know.
I don't know that, and I'm sorry,
Okay.
I don't have that data.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me, though. I did used to design fire sprinkler systems, and it takes a surprising amount of water to put out a fire. So that wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know how that might differ between an EV vehicle versus a gasoline,
an internal combustion vehicle.
Yeah. I think that either way, we want everybody to be safe, and hopefully we'll continue to reduce those
Reduce the car fires overall. Yes.
Yeah.
How long do batteries last, life-wise?
So typically you can expect your batteries to last you 12 to 15 years. That depends on, wear and tear. If you're driving a lot of miles, it's not going to last you, typically that long, but 12 to 15 years is a pretty good estimation. And that number is getting higher the more we increase technology, the more developments we make.
And then how do you dispose of those batteries?
So the person, the car dealership or the mechanic that would swap those batteries out for you, there's regulations on how to dispose of them. But just because it's not holding enough charge for your range doesn't mean that it can't have capacity. to go onto a second life for storage, for a renewable energy project, congregated with other batteries that were traded out from EVs.
Fascinating. We have someone asking, repeat how to make suggestions for where to put charging stations in Cook County.
Please go to our webpage at cookcountyil.gov/EV charging. At the bottom of the page, there's a web form that you can fill out with all the information.
Thank you.
So if, like your website gives a lot of information on whether I would want to buy an EV, where would somebody go if they were looking to install a charging station? Would they just go to a dealer that installs them and ask questions, or do you have any non-company, website that helps with entities that are trying to install them?
That's a very good question.
Anyone, you're installing an outlet, like you put it for electric car.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but that doesn't tell me everything about charging stations, those options and rebates and.
Yeah.
So there is a certain amount of information at the IEPA's website.
Okay.
It covers all of the charging rebates that they offer. I don't know if like a single source that you could go to get all those pieces.
We have brought it up at the library board meeting, as something to investigate, but.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I think that starting with an electrician is the right place to start. They might not know about the rebates, but they're going to know about the technical stuff. And, you know, there are electricians that are out there installing charging stations. So probably not all electricians know, but I think that an electrician would be a great place to start.
I think sometimes there's confusion too between just using your home electricity and installing like a level 3. Level 3 takes a lot of power. Level 2 is, like you said, equivalent to a dryer, right? Our house, we already had 220 volts because the previous owner was a woodworker and needed it for his things, but it wasn't the right shaped plug. So we had to have an electrician come out and just change that part.
In your garage.
In our garage, yes.
You got really lucky.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, for any electrician, they could definitely, for your home uses, upgrade you to be able to do that level 2 pretty simply. You know, a good electrician could do that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
If the car is not being charged, just sitting idle, does it lose energy? You spent the day at the beach, would you have to worry?
It's negligible, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You won't notice it.
If
And the insurance company, if you had a gasoline and an electric car, what would the insurance rates be for each?
I think those are also fairly similar, and some insurance companies are still figuring some of it out. So it may be that you would need to go to an insurance company that has already started to figure that out. I know that that's also the case with like solar panels. Some home insurers are like, we're not quite sure what to do with this yet. So I think that that's kind of a case by case. Did you have some input on that?
About 50% more insured my gas vehicle, but the sticker price of an electric vehicle is about twice the price of my gas vehicle.
So seems kind of equivalent then.
Very little 16 grand therapy for 22 years. And the same insurance policy was down by 20%.
yeah, that was our experience as well, is it's less expensive. You know, on a match to match basis, it was less expensive for an electric vehicle. Some of it I think is a lot of it is the safety, right? They're just safer vehicles to drive as long as you're not always racing the car next to you at the red light. I just wanted to real quickly, for those of you who are online, Kate's referred a few times to the handout, and I will be sending you a link to that when I send you a link to where the recording is stored. So if you want to share these things with anyone, you'll be able to do so.
And along those lines, the people that are in person will also get the link to the recording.
Everybody who registered for the program gets the same thing.
And they can share it with whoever they want.
Yes, absolutely. We encourage you to have people watch it at the library's YouTube. think you are a very thorough presenter because we're not getting a lot of questions.
And it was very fast, so I do apologize for that.
No worries.
I get a little excited sometimes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you all so very much. Oh,
We did have, I'm sorry, we did have one more come in.
Yes.
And this I think is going to be, it's going to vary a little bit. The answers are going to vary, but how much does charging an EV at your home add to your monthly electricity costs?
So we have someone who has solar panels, and you told me 8 months out of the year you have a 0 electricity bill. So how much are you, sir?
But it's convoluted for me, but it's called heat pump, the same month I got my heat.
Okay, so he would weigh electric.
As the bill is going up, but my natural gas bill is going down by 64%, and my credit card charges for gasoline is obviously going down.
Okay,
I think the estimate roughly would be maybe $1,000 a year or less.
okay, so that is estimating the difference between your gas-powered vehicle and your electric.
The GMs would say that when you equate it on a per mile, it's like paying for gas at $1.05 per gallon.
Oh, that's nice.
So that would be a way of looking at it.
Which is, you know, a third if you're on a really good deal.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
so then another person said he's paying 1 to 2 cents per mile. Did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, I just wondering, can your charge be stolen by somebody in a parking lot?
No, so there is some new technology that.
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating the question for the
So
folks online?
question
Thank you.
is, can your charge in your EV be stolen, like when you're parked in a parking lot? I think you're thinking about like siphoning off gas, right? So it cannot. So there is some technology that is being installed in some states. They have, like in Texas, they're trying to safeguard the grid because they've had some pretty bad issues recently, where when your vehicle is plugged in at home, it can be a secondary power source to put power back into the grid until things are back online, and then you get recharged. But no, once your batteries are charged, the only way to discharge that is by driving it. Yeah.
If you have 2 cars, both electric, do you need something special from the electric company, or are you able to charge both of them overnight?
So the question was, what if you have 2 electric vehicles, finding out if there's anything special you have to do. I believe you could, if you have the outlets, and there's also special like adapters where you can charge 2 off of. Like most public charging stations, you can charge 2 vehicles off of 1 station. There's 2 outlets. So no, you don't have to do anything special with ComEd. You can, you know, you plug in what you got.
Yeah. ComEd is happy to have you use their electricity.
Yeah, they would rather use the electricity than buy the gasoline.
Yeah. And we have a plug-in hybrid and an electric vehicle, completely electric. I don't necessarily charge my EV every night, right? I wait for it to get down to like, 120 miles range. So we've talked about, my goal is that I'm not sure if we're ready to make the leap and go to a 2 electric vehicle family, but I really want a Mustang Mach-E, so maybe. And yeah, we've kind of talked about it, and I don't think it would be that complicated for us. We just take turns which car gets charged.
Yeah, you better get on that
Plugged
waiting list now, because everybody wants that car.
I know. I don't know if we're ready, but
So on your plug-in hybrid, what is your battery range that you typically see?
it's the Fusion Energy, Ford Fusion Energy, and it's only like 25 miles before it kicks into using the gas. And then it's like another hybrid vehicle would be, right? It does fall back. It leaves itself a little bit of a buffer in the battery.
Okay.
But it probably doesn't get driven more than 5 or 10 miles at a time, because if we're going farther, we take the other car.
Got it. So you basically, the way you drive that vehicle, you're always driving in an all electric.
Pretty much.
That's great. So that actually reminded me of another question that someone has asked. And so for non-EV drivers, people are concerned about kind of getting stranded. You know how you can end up on E and stuck on the side of the road needing gas. Your vehicles have safety mechanisms in that won't allow that to happen. Teslas have it automatically programmed. I don't know about yours, sir, but automatically programmed that it will tell you where you need to go to charge before you get too low. And I think that that's becoming standard. If you were to purchase an older used Leaf, you may not have that same level of that technology, but your car will warn you before you get anywhere near that critical level.
Yeah. It also, we got ours in October of 2018. And for Thanksgiving, we drove up to Milwaukee to visit relatives. And coming back, I don't know if you guys remember, in 2018 on Thanksgiving, there was a huge oil tanker that overturned on 94 northbound, and it spilled across the southbound lanes. And our car, we had it on GPS just because it was a new fun thing. We knew the way home, but let's see how accurate it is. And it rerouted us before. We avoided an hour or two of being stuck in a traffic jam because the GPS is always reading what's ahead of you. Even driving to work tonight, I normally take 59 all the way to Lake Cook. And it was like, no, this time you want to turn on Hillside and go out to Route 14 and around. I don't know what was going on downtown, but it thought I was better off coming that way instead. So it works with you to try and help those things. We did get a question online. I realized I just answered it and I probably should have shared it with everyone.
Please do.
So do public charging stations charge the cars more quickly than those at home? And if it is a level 3 charger, it is very unlikely that you would have a level 3 charger at your home. But a lot of the free ones, I know South Barrington Arboretum has a couple of chargers. I know a few of the theaters. I don't think the AMC here does, but the AMC in Lake in the Hills has charging stations, and those are just level 2 chargers, which for us are the same as what we have at home. So,
and they're the medium, so that's a little bit faster than just plugging it into a regular outlet and getting that level 1 trickle charge. But especially if you're going to a movie, you're going to get a decent amount of charge back.
If you charge the movies, they charge you for charging?
So far, what we've found is level 2 chargers. The question was whether those shopping center, movie theater, they can start charging you money to charge your vehicle. So far, they are not. Level 3 chargers, for the most part, do. It is very reasonable compared to what a gallon of gas costs, but yeah. But
and
level 2, they do not.
oftentimes you'll have already set up an account, so you kind of know where you can go for the chargers that are associated with your account. That you can find those, and then the rates should be posted on either on the app or on the web pages for whatever charger you would choose. Yes, John.
Well, just some fun information. We're trying to convince an entity to put in a station. First of all, a lot of the charging stations have advertising spots on them. So you might be able to get a sponsorship that helps you pay for the station. But then also the way these cards are, and again, I don't have one, so they can do things like make it free for teachers, or make it free for the first 2 hours, but then you have to pay. They have a lot of options compared to just, it's not just like high price or nothing. It's which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I see a lot of places where they give priority parking to people that are.
Yeah. The electric spaces are usually near the front.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's because then there's less tailpipe emissions right there by the door.
Yeah. Right.
Reverse that testing, if there's far from the door, so you don't get somebody parking in the car there blocking the charging.
Yeah. They usually have a lot of them. I know Meyer IS has put in Tesla superchargers. One of the things that I think is beginning to happen and that trend needs to continue is some agreement on what the shape of the chargers will look like.
So Tesla has just opened up, what is it, was it 1,600 or past the DC fast chargers across the country that they're making them available to other vehicles as well. So there's the 2 adapters now, I think. I think most vehicles have one shape and Tesla's got another. And I think that's kind of across the board, whether it's, you know, Ford,
And
an
then you buy a
American
converter.
brand, or, you know, like a Toyota. I think those are still the same shape.
But you can buy converters for each other.
There's 3? Okay.
Yeah.
The European standard, the Tesla, and the Asian standard.
Okay, thank you. So there's
Yeah.
actually 3. There's the European. So if you were to purchase a Volkswagen, because they have a ton of EV vehicles, you would most likely have that third kind, that European version versus the standard one versus Tesla.
Yeah.
Volkswagen and Ford and most of the other ones are using all the same ones.
Okay,
If you get a Leaf, it's probably got Japanese or.
Okay, so European and North America are the same,
okay,
but Asian maybe are different. I have 2 more on here and then I think we'll wrap up.
sounds perfect.
So one question is a portable recharger available if you are getting or if you run out? And interestingly, I think that's one of the services you can get from Tesla. If for some reason you ignore all those warnings and you run out somewhere, Tesla roadside assistance will bring a charger that will charge you. And I would guess,
Show you the charger you pay for the total.
I would guess at some point, you know, AAA and other things like that will start to offer, not just they're going to come jump your gasoline powered car's battery, they'll be able to give you enough of a charge or tow you.
I
And
agree.
then,
That's probably still the technology in the works, perfecting it, making it portable enough that it makes sense to be able to come with roadside service.
Right.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I know a lot of like Jiffy Lube and a lot of the oil change centric companies are already thinking about like what services can they train their people on that will be useful, you know, like do they transition to like really focusing on
You don't need that.
rotating your tires,
Rotating
or
tires and replacing
what
your
can
windshield
they do
wipers.
so that they don't become irrelevant too? So there's a lot of potential ripple effects. I'm sorry, what was the last one?
The last one, and this is a relevant question, is are electric vehicles going to be taxed for using the roadways since they are not buying gasoline, which is taxed? And
That is something that they're figuring out at the state level and potentially at the federal level. The registration is higher for an electric vehicle versus a gasoline vehicle. And right now, I believe that's one of the ways they're recouping some of that difference.
entirely, I don't know what your experience was, but in 2018, when we first got a license plate, it was less expensive than a standard license plate. And now it's a couple $100 more to get the EL license plate. And even if you want a regular license plate on your vehicle, you're still paying that additional amount because you're driving an electric vehicle and they're not recouping it in other ways, which is fair.
And then also we have such a robust toll road system that some of that is, you know, fills that gap as well for those specific highways only. So yeah, so that's also in the works. This is a major transition that will be happening over the course of the next 5 to 10 years. So so people in charge are thinking of those things, and we don't necessarily have all the answers right now, but yeah, the people are asking those questions, and I'm glad that you are as well.
Excellent. All right, I think we will wrap that up. Thank you very much, folks, for attending online.
Thank you all.
Good job. And I will email out the link to view it again and send you the handout that it gave to the people that are here as soon as I am able.